Brawlhalla is in a really interesting spot right now because on one hand, you have super stances, which are undeniably the biggest update we've seen in possibly ever. The summers were some of the best esports I've ever seen in my entire life. And most importantly, pretty soon we're getting a Shrek collab. So that's pretty exciting. But on the other hand, only 57% of recent reviews are actually positive. And if you check those reviews, all of them, even the positive ones, are pissed off. People are upset. Nobody is happy playing this game. And I think the player count reflects that. If you look recently or further back, it is just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Like way more than the average game. It's a sound wave. It's not consistent at all. And I think the reason for this is because this game does not actually get a lot of new players. It doesn't. People play this game for a little bit, get really pissed, they leave, and they come back. But it's always the same people coming back and the same people leaving. So this game is kind of just stagnated in the player base. So I think I have a very foolproof solution to just make this game's player count double, triple, quadruple, quintuple, and just save the game. Okay, so I'm going to save the game. The first step to this plan, very simple, is to improve the new player experience. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to walk you through what the average new player experience is. You're like, oh, I'm going to go try out Brawlhalla. You know, my friend just recommended it to me. Okay, you know, it's pretty hard. I'm getting the hang of it. You know, they're just playing normally. Shittily, but normally. Then they play against one guy who just spams Queen Nai Sigs or Artemis Sigs or any of the fucking characters that do that. Then they lose because they're bad at the game. Then they do that again and again, and then eventually they just go, okay, that's how you win the game. You win the game by sig spamming. I'm going to start sig spamming. Then they're just playing matches that are just sig spammer v sig spammer, and that isn't fun. I think the counter argument to nerfing like sig spam in that regard is that, like, yeah, that's how it goes, but eventually they hit higher ranks and then they realize they can't keep sig spamming and then they stop. Sometimes true. I think anyone will tell you that sig spammers do exist in higher ranks. But beyond that, that assumes they get to a rank where sig spamming isn't viable and that they don't get bored before that happens. Just sig spamming over and over again isn't fun. It's not enjoyable. I think the average person isn't gonna play too much beyond the sig spamming phase, which is why my first step to saving Brawlhalla is to nerf sig spam. I know this is controversial. Not everybody agrees with it, but at the end of the day, higher ranked players don't sig spam a ton. They don't. It almost only affects like middle to lower ranked players, and it just makes the game less enjoyable for them. If higher ranked players aren't doing it anyways, and it's just making the game more annoying for lower ranked players, what is the point in keeping it as powerful as it is? So I'm going to go a little bit more into the specifics of what nerfing sig spam would actually look like. One idea I've been tossing around is just increasing the amount of end lag on whiff. This isn't even a change that affects you as long as you're, landing your signatures. It's just a lot of signatures displace you or have a really low amount of end lag, and it makes it harder to punish, especially for newer players. Brawlhalla is already a game that, in general, has much less end lag to its attacks than most other fighting games out there. That's just true, which is just a part of the game's identity, and that's totally fine. But for signatures, I think many of them just need a broad end lag nerf on whiff, which I think, honestly, if you don't agree with that, low-key just get good. Because, you would only, just land your sigs more, forehead. Come on. Another idea that the community talks about a lot more is the idea of sig decay, or, you know how in Smash, if you use the same Smash attack over and over again, it gets weaker over time? Just that, but with signatures in Brawlhalla. I actually don't agree with that, because I think it's kind of a where do you draw the line thing. Either you throw out a sig and then a light attack that has no end lag because you have 10 dexterity or 11 dexterity now with some characters, or you just, and then that isn't punished, even though you're definitely not actually throwing out light attacks for the sake of light attacking. You're throwing out light attacks because you know you have no end lag and that way can get around sig decay. Or worse, sig decay goes through your light attacks. It actually has like some arbitrary set number of how many light attacks you need to input before your Sig Decay is gone, which is terrible. Would not affect all weapons universally. I just do not think that's a good idea. But so to reiterate, I believe we should just nerf Sig Spam. To reiterate, I think Sig Spam does need a nerf. I just think it needs to be nerfed in a different way than most people think it does. Just lower the amount of it. I do think it needs to be nerfed just differently than everyone else does. Just increase the amount of end lag, and that's all we need. Another slight change they could make, and honestly, I'm a little surprised this hasn't already happened. Sorry. And another change they could make, and honestly, I'm just a little surprised this one hasn't already happened, because to me at least, it seems like a kind of a no-brainer, is to just have, when you start the game, you get one free legend token. Or, because like a lot of fighting games that have most characters locked, which we do, we have over 60 characters, and you have a weekly rotation of the characters you can play. They give you a token just to buy base, so you can play whoever you want to play up to one just immediately, which I think is great. I think there's literally no downside to doing that. If you are a newer player and the character you enjoy gets rotated out before you're able to pick up a new character in time, sure, it does force you to experiment with other characters, which is good. But if you just don't enjoy any of them, then you're like, oh shit, now I gotta play through a bunch of bullshit I don't want to play through before I can get to the character I actually want to play. It's just give the newer players one token for one character, or something like that. I can't actually foresee literally any downsides to that one. And now phase 2 of this plan. This is arguably the most important phase. It's about getting the game players again. Why don't people play Brawlhalla? It's got bad PR. It does. I got a lot of friends who play fighting games. None of them are willing to touch Brawlhalla. I've talked to some of my friends who aren't in the fighting game community, and their response was, oh, I heard even people who like fighting games hate Brawlhalla, which is, oh my god, that is possibly the worst reputation any game could have ever. How do you fix that? Well, you know, I think my first changes will help, but obviously people aren't playing, they're not going to know, they're not going to care. So get people to care. And by that, what I mean is instead of spending however much money it costs to make the new overpowered character nobody likes, because who the fuck gives a shit about Chakram, give jynxi like $50,000 to play the game for a week, or however much money he needs. Seriously, that's it. jynxi has, for whatever reason, the only community that no matter what he is doing, they will play it. They'll play the game with them. Not with him, but, you know, they'll play the game as he plays it. Any game he plays experiences a massive spike in player count. And with the changes to the new player experience that I outlined earlier, I don't see any reason that it wouldn't be a decent experience for him. And that's a decent experience for many of the players he brings in, and thus many of them would stay, and thus your future revenue, Brawlhalla, BMG, would go up substantially. So I'm not asking you, BMG, to just throw away $50,000 to some random fucking streamer. I'm asking you to invest in your own future, because it will pay in dividends, I promise you. I don't know why more gaming companies aren't using the jynxi strat. I feel like it's tested, it works, it's worked on everything he's ever touched. He breathes life into a game. If he can revive the most pay-to-win mobile game I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life, he can revive a fighting game as genuinely fantastic as this one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, you know, like, subscribe, that kind of a thing. If you didn't enjoy, please like and subscribe still, because, you know, that would be really helpful for a guy like me. One thing I want to show, just because I enjoy showing things, is wow. one thing I want to say, I enjoy showing things. I'm sure this is obvious. This is a shorter video, and I kind of rambled a little bit. These were my notes for this. I didn't finish them. I kind of have a bad habit of just starting notes for a video and then just going, I don't really like writing notes. I'm just gonna wing it. And hopefully I did a good job this time. Jynxi, if you're watching, if you want to give me like a couple $1,000, $100,000, $1 million or something, or you want to like show me, that'd be great. You know, Jynxi, love you, Jynxi. Anyways, goodbye forever.